Unreasonable Hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. All right, there was a guy, I'm not sure if you guys know him, his name is Will Guidara. He actually made a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. He ran the #1 restaurant in New York, which was ranked the #1 restaurant in the world. And he gave a speech about this unreasonable hospitality. And I was fascinated by the speech. And I want to bring it to light to you guys and see if hopefully you could be inspired by the end of it for how you could take your business to the next level, take your experience to the next level, and think about things a little differently. So unreasonable hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. So people want to be seen. That's where we'll start. Every single time you talk to a business person or a salesperson or a company and you ask them, what are you trying to do to be the best? What do they typically tell you? We're working on our brand. We're working on our service. We want to make our service the #1 service ever. Quick process, easy, fast, competitive service. Or we're working on our product. I want to get less calories in the soda can and I want to make it taste better. And I'm just working on the product itself. And that's typically what people are working on. Either the product, the service, or the brand. That's what everybody's working on. And they're working on a one size fits all. Okay. A lot of our trainings have been one size fits all. Creating email templates and text templates and automation. And a lot of this stuff, we're trying to streamline our process and do a one size fits all. Unreasonable hospitality is about flipping that. If you ask people what they want to be seen, they want to feel heard. Like it's different if I just send you, let's say, a Christmas card to your house that's printed off of a printer that says Merry Christmas from Aces Academy, and you get that in the mail and you see it. I don't know how you're going to feel about that. But if you get a handwritten letter to you that says, Christopher, thanks so much for being part of the Academy. This is your 9th month with us, and I realized throughout the 9 months, here's the improvements I've seen in you. And I also know that, you just started a new job 3 months ago. Just want to let you know I got your back. If I sent a hand-felt letter to you about your life and your experience and the things I know about you, how would that make you feel on Christmas? And you have to think, if we would feel better reading or seeing something that's personal to us, everybody would feel better seeing or reading something that's personal to them. So people want to be seen. Instead of a one size fits all, how could you get to a place where you're doing a one size fits one? That means every single client you talk to has a unique experience because who that client is, and you connect to who that client is. I say the greatest gestures are specific to the person receiving them. It's not just a grand gesture that you give everybody. Every single person gets a different gesture. And it's special to the person only receiving it, not to everybody. So how do we do that? Well, let me give you the examples that he gave us that were done in this New York restaurant that won the #1 restaurant in the world after that was their 7-year goal and they hit it. So this restaurant in New York, maybe some of you are familiar with it. They were focused on the product and the service. That's what they were doing originally. They said, we want to be the #1 restaurant in the world. They were ranked 50 at the time, and they wanted to get to #1. So the first couple years, they started working on the layout of the place, the tables, the chairs, the aesthetics, the lights, and they made the place look as beautiful as it could be. Then they start working on the service, the bartenders, the waiters, the waitresses, the hostess, the menus, the ordering on the phone, the making reservations, trying to streamline the process and work on the customer experience and the service. And then lastly, they worked on the food and the chef and finding the best chefs in the world to be there. And doing all that, they did what everybody else is doing. And they didn't get to #1 for doing that. So they started studying and researching the #1, #2, and #3 restaurants in the world and what they were doing and how they were #1. And they realized it wasn't scaled on food and it wasn't scaled on service and it wasn't even scaled on the brand, because food, service, brand, process, all of that stuff is subjective, meaning I could go there and have a meal, you could go there and have a meal, and I could say the meal sucked and you could say the meal was great. I remember one time I went to this restaurant in Chicago called Alinea. It was like a $10,000 dinner, or $1,000 dinner, sorry, 10,000 is crazy. It was a $1,000 dinner, which was even crazy as well. And I'm not a big food guy, I'm a pretty plain and simple guy. Burgers, sandwiches, I love subs, and I went to this restaurant and it was caviar and all these things and chefs and an experience, but I hated the food. Does that mean the restaurant wasn't good? No, that means I don't know food. It wasn't my kind of restaurant. I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. So food is subjective. The experience is subjective. Even if I go park at a restaurant and you go park at a restaurant, I could say the parking sucks. You could say the parking was great, depending on what you find. So because these things are subjective and they change depending on who's given the opinion, he said the real thing that could be scaled is the impact. When I say impact, I mean how you impact the people walking into your business, or the people coming into your phone line, or the people that you're advertising to, or the people, in this case, eating at the restaurant. So this guy, Will, gets his staff together and he says, we're going to all get together. By the way, when they get together janitors, bartenders, waitresses, waiters, everybody, the whole staff gets together. And they say, we want to break down the user experience from the point they get outside to the point they walk inside, to the ordering, to the walking out, to the using the restroom, everything. They wanted to pinpoint how the experience goes. They tried to make that smoother. And that didn't work. They still didn't get to number one. So one day he's walking by a table and he hears a couple and a family that's from another country, first time in New York, talking about their amazing experience, saying, man, this was great. We got to eat at this restaurant. We got to go to Times Square. We got to do this. But one thing we didn't get to do was try a New York hot dog. And our airplane's going to leave in the next couple hours. We got to go straight to the airport. So the owner actually hears them saying this. And this is what the owner does. He runs outside. He goes to a hot dog truck. He grabs a hot dog from a hot dog truck, runs back inside, argues with the chef to cook this hot dog because the chef doesn't want to do it. Chef cooks the hot dog, cuts it up, makes it look nice. He says, I overheard you say you wanted a hot dog. I had the chef make you a complimentary special hot dog. And he puts it on the table. Now just think about that for a second. The hot dog costed him less than $2. What do you think the story was from this family about this restaurant? Do you think it was the amazing seafood or the amazing steak or the aesthetics? The only thing this family is going to walk away and say is, the owner overheard me saying I wanted a hot dog and I never had one, and somehow he went and got me a hot dog. And then they said at the end it was the best hot dog they ever had, and that was their favorite part of the meal, was the hot dog. So that's when the light bulb lit up for this guy, Will Guidara, and that's where this whole thing started. So then he gets his staff together, tells this story, and then they start focusing on this, which is called unreasonable hospitality, meaning it's not something you could scale, but every single person that comes in, if you have a listening ear on, you could figure out what's important to them, and you could, not for every single person, that's going to be tough, but you could make it special for some of the people that come in there if you catch something that's worth making it special for. So the whole staff trains on this, on active listening, going out of the box. They even create a position called Dreamcaster, and they start trying to accomplish people's dreams inside of this restaurant from listening in to what they're saying. The second story was there was another family in New York, and they were sitting at the table, and they said, this is the first time we ever had a winter, first time we ever seen snow. Waiter overhears that, orders 2 sleds from across the street, brings them 2 sleds and say, enjoy the snow on their way out. Now that's a story they're never going to forget. They put it on Facebook. They tweet about it. The best publicity is natural publicity. Another couple's in there talking about a sad story of how they missed their slow dance and what the slow dance was. Restaurant person catches it. They go upstairs. They put rose petals on the floor. They play that song and they invite them up for a slow dance. They ended up being the #1 restaurant in the world after 7 years. And it wasn't from focusing on the food. It wasn't from focusing on the staff. It wasn't from focusing on the service. It was from focusing on the individual that walks into the restaurant, because that's your best word of mouth, is the people that you do business with. Natural word of mouth is your best word of mouth. So think of how they did that and got to the #1 restaurant in the world. Now, this is not only about restaurants. I'm not in the restaurant business. I know a lot of you are not in the restaurant business, but we're going to talk about how this applies to our business. And I want you to start churning your gears in your mind and thinking about how could you make a unique experience that's personable to the one person you're dealing with your product or service, and it's only unique to them and nobody else. Unreasonable hospitality. How could you do that? He goes on to share other stories. There's a story about the Hilton, where there's a Hilton that's by an airport. The airport's always busy and it's always delaying people's flights, and people leave reviews for the Hilton, and the most reviews they get for negative reviews is reviews on the check-in. The check-in process is grueling. The check-in process, it takes a long time to check in. The flight was delayed. I got in at 3 a.m. and I had to check in, and that's what they're getting the most of. So the Hilton does something just like this, and what they do is they get notified when a flight is delayed, and they do an automatic check-in for you. So when you come in, the gentleman literally looks up your picture online and he says, Mr. Alex Sharafuddin, I know you had a late flight. Here's your key to the room. Go ahead. We'll check you in the morning. I know it's been a long night for you. And they start handing people their cards and identifying them as soon as they walk in. Now think about that from a monetary standpoint. Does that cost a lot of money to do? No. Did that get rid of 80% of their bad reviews? Yes. How did that make people feel to walk in and just get their card and go straight to their room when you're exhausted? You know how it feels. That small thing got them to their 5-star reviews. That small thing made people come back. That small thing made people tweet and post on Facebook and tell their family and friends, you know what's great about this hotel? I literally came in at 3 a.m. exhausted, thinking I'm going to have to check in. They had my room ready. They had breakfast for me in the morning because they knew I had a long night. That's unreasonable hospitality. And I thought that was an interesting story too. And that just shows you that it doesn't only apply to restaurants. You could apply this anywhere and everywhere. Now let's talk about your business, my business. what we do every single day. Start thinking to yourself, what are things that we could do in our business to make it a unique experience that nobody else is doing? You know, if you read a book called Blue Ocean Strategy talks about how the best way to create a big impact in your business and a big increase in revenue is to focus on something and blow it up where nobody else is focused. I talk about that in mortgages all the time. I say, you know where nobody's focused? On pre-approvals. You know where nobody else is focused? On clients that don't qualify. If you started creating emails and templates and texts and phone calls and checkups and holiday bundles and gift cards, and you start doing all of these things for your cold clients or your pre-approvals, and you start treating them like they're $1 million jumbo clients ready to move forward today. If you just do that and focus on all of those, that's a blue ocean strategy. You're going to blow up with that kind of business because nobody else is focused on it. So you look at your industry, regardless of what you do, there's a space in your industry that nobody really focused on. It might be a sticky space. Me in the broker business. If I open a broker business, I know exactly what I want to focus on is not the stars, the all-stars of the broker space. I would focus on the people that are struggling that nobody else wants to take. I made a name like that at Rocket Mortgage for 8 years. My team was known for, if they're struggling, send them over to Sharaf's team. And then who do you think they would respect and be loyal to for the rest of their careers? After I blew them up, they would stay with me forever. I never had to worry about loyalty. My team always had my back because I took them in and treated them like an all-star when they weren't, and I made them into an all-star. That was a blue ocean strategy as a leader. My team went from 15 people to almost 60 people at one point because I was focused in an area where nobody else was focused. So what is this in your business? And if you want to, type it out and send it in, we could take a look at it and try to help you figure that out. So here's what you have to do. Think about the user experience in your business. As soon as you get a client, how does their experience go? Is it a phone call? Who do they talk to first? Is it filling something out online? Is it talking to a realtor? Is it life insurance? Is it walking into your dealership? What is it for you to get a client, and how does that experience go for them? I would literally write down step 1, the client does this. Step 2, client does this. Step 3, client goes through this. Step 4, client has to do that. Step 5, client has to do this. Step 6, client does that. Step 7, I do this with the client. Step 8, this happens. Step 9, step 10. What does the client go through to get your product or service? From beginning till the end, I want you to write that out and figure that out. And then after you write that out, these are the questions I would ask. And look, you should be taking notes right now. If you're not taking notes right now, I would pause this and literally get a pen and paper, and I would break these things down and go through this activity because it will change your game. The first thing you ask yourself after you break down the experience that they're going through is, number 1, what is everybody doing throughout this experience in your industry? Meaning, if I'm in mortgages, what's everybody doing? They're getting the lead. They're running through qualifiers. They're probably calling back the client and pitching the deal. They're signing the client. They're gathering documents from the client, and the client's talking to a processor, and the client's scheduling an appraisal, and the client's doing a title search for the client. They got to send in more documents. Got to check back in on the appraisal, see if they're happy or mad, if the appraisal came in good. Got to schedule the closing. They got to set up a notary. Notary comes to their house. They close the deal. It's gone. That's what everyone's doing, right? Whatever it is for your business, product, or service, write down what everybody's doing in your industry. And then I want you, number 2, to think about things that nobody is doing. Like, out of those 10 things that you wrote down, what are some of the things that you could be doing inside of here that nobody else is doing? And how do you figure that out? You're like, well, what do you mean, Ace? How do I really figure out? Like, what do you mean? If everyone's doing this and this is how the process works, why would somebody not be doing something? Well, what I mean is, if you go to number 3, you have to ask yourself, what are the common hiccups of your industry? When I say hiccups, I mean, what are the snags? What are the things people hate the most about your product or service? What are the things that people dislike about your process for your product or service? How's the process from beginning to end? What does the ideal client typically go through? What are the most complaints you get? Are there common complaints that you get? For example, going back to the Hilton, the common complaint was people checking in after a delayed flight, being exhausted, hating the check-in process. They realized that and they said, this is a problem. It's probably a problem at all these hotels. Why don't we do something about it and do something that nobody else is doing? And simply let people check in the next morning and give them their damn key to their room. How can you create something based on what your ideal client goes through? And think about that in 2 different ways. In the present moment, what your client goes through, and in the future moment. If I'm in car sales, okay, I know what a typical client goes through in car sales. They come to the dealership, the salesperson gets them, they take them out to the car, they bring them inside, maybe a sales manager comes out and tries to talk to them, they make them wait in a room, they say, let me see if you're going to get qualified. qualified. They go in the room, they literally make them wait there and get nervous. They come back and say, it's looking a little, we might have to bring some down, your credit, anything in assets, any co-signers. They go back in the room, they come back out, they get like, that's the process they go through. When I think about common hiccups in this process, it's very stressful in a lot of dealerships for the actual client or customer that's looking for the car, because a lot of these salespeople make it more stressful for the client because they want to get a bigger down payment out of their pocket up front, when in reality, they're creating that stuff up front a lot of the times because they could usually finance most of it and they don't want to because they want to get paid. So if I knew that and I opened up a car dealership tomorrow, then I would literally have my car dealership be known for taking the borrower inside the office and say, hey, this is usually where people leave you outside and call different banks and see how much money they could get out of you. Over here, we do things different. I don't want to stress you out at all. I'm going to face my computer your way. We're going to look at this together. We're going to figure it out. And that's why you could depend on us and trust us. And if I just did that for every single client that walked in, and then I branded against all the other car dealerships that are scaring the shit out of you and trying to make more money out of you with their bullshit tactics, and then I make social media based off of that experience, I guarantee you I blow up my car dealership because it's an honest dealership that's going to take care of you. If I'm in mortgages and there's always a security objection with giving information out over the phone, that's why I create a brand text and a brand email to make somebody feel comfortable with me right in the beginning of the call. If I'm in any kind of finances, mortgages, life insurance, solar, even car sales, if there's documents required, what if I have my assistant in the next office start collecting documents for clients and I say, hey, you know what? One thing we're going to do that nobody else is doing, we're going to get the cert and auth signed up front, and we're going to tell the client, hey, a lot of other lenders out there make you go through hoops with all these documentation. I told you there's a couple reasons why I'm different than everybody else. Here's one big one. I'm going to have you sign the cert and auth, and after you sign the cert and auth, I know you're busy and you got a lot of things to do. I'm going to take the time with my team. I'm going to call your employer. I'm going to get your W-2s. I'm going to get your pay stubs. I'm going to get your insurance policy. I'm even going to get your mortgage statement. I'm going to get everything that you need for this process. Only thing I need from you is a copy of your driver's license, snap a picture, and I'll do the rest for you. And this is the kind of service you could depend on me for throughout the whole process. I think if I said that to every single client and then somebody else calls the client trying to give him a better deal, Alex is already talking to my HR. Alex is already talking to my insurance company. It's too late. Like, they're not going to shop me when I'm doing all the work for them and some bozo tries to come through and just get them a better deal with a better rate, because I'm already creating a competitive advantage, which is not even unreasonable hospitality. Unreasonable hospitality would be if the client literally told me, like, last time it was so much paperwork that I just gave up and didn't do it at all, and I don't want to go through the hoops, and then I come back and say, hey, I just hired somebody to gather all the documents for you. I'm going to be paying them. I want you to stay busy at work. Like, that's a unique experience because that person needed it. But just in general, if I did that to every single client, it does give you a little competitive edge. So I'm just trying to give you guys examples of where my mind goes when I'm thinking of unreasonable hospitality and the things you could be doing inside of your industry or market. So what could you create right now inside of your business to create a separation and have the competitive advantage? What kind of things do you think of? Let's start with my business. I'm going to keep giving you guys more examples, and we're going to go through the whole process. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll have something that you could walk away from and say, I'm going to do this thing right here. This is going to give me that unreasonable hospitality. So Aces Academy. I'm always seeing posts on LinkedIn for people that need new jobs or quit their job or got fired from a job wrongfully. And I'm sure there's lists out there and there's Facebook stats out there that we could get for people searching for a job. What if I sent an Aces Academy package to everybody's house as soon as they quit or got fired from their job? And the Aces Academy package will come in and say, hey, we've been in the business for 20 years. We heard about what happened. We have your back. We have a lot of connections and consulting we do for companies. I want to make sure this transition is as smooth as possible for you. Here's a free 7-day trial to my academy to make sure you get all the training you need. And here's my Calendly link to schedule a call with me and find you the right place to go. Like, if I just started doing that, trying to show up for somebody when they're looking for a new job and be like, boom, here I am right at the perfect time. I'll help you find the job. I'll train you up for that job and I'll make sure you're taken care of. I guarantee you I could start a whole recruiting company and I could start recruiting people, meeting with them and selling them off to other companies. Or how about if somebody gets promoted or has their biggest month ever, I track that data and then I send you a gold key to your house that says, congratulations on accomplishing one of your main keys of sales. You had your biggest month of the year. We're watching you. We're rooting for you. People will be like, what the f***? This guy Ace is high level. And I'm telling you this because I'm already telling my team this and I'm already working on this. And this is coming in 2025. This is where my mind's going. How could I show unreasonable hospitality to every single one of you guys listening on this right now? How could I find out what's unique to you and show up at the perfect time and the perfect place for you when it matters the most? So that's where my mind goes. When somebody quits, I could show show up. If somebody gets a promotion, I could show up. If somebody has a great month, I could show up. If somebody has a bad month, I could also show up and tell them I understand and ask them specifically what they're doing. Maybe give them a free one-on-one. I guarantee you that free one-on-one will turn into more one-on-ones once they start making money and having a good month again. So that's where my mind starts going when I was thinking of the consulting business and the coaching academy as I was listening. So I'm just trying to give you perspective on where my mind goes so you could start churning the gears and thinking about your business as you're listening. So brand is something we all do. Usually a brand is verbal. You say it over the phone. For me, I talk about how my brand is through a text, then I brand through an email, I brand through a voicemail, I brand on social media, and I brand verbally. But how could you make your brand even more special? I had a client yesterday on the phone shopping around rates. I said, do you have an iPhone? He said, yeah. I said, do you mind if I FaceTime you right now? I FaceTimed the client inside of my office and I showed him the rate sheets and different lender portals and I showed him exactly what I was looking at. And I said, look, I ain't bullshitting you. This is what I see. What do you want to do? That guy's in process, about to be conditionally approved. Like that was a custom brand that I needed for him because he was a shopper. I'm like, look, we're not going to shop. We're going to shop together. Let's check everything out together on this. I usually add a photo of a brand. Sometimes I'll leave a video. Sometimes I'll do a voice note. Sometimes I'll do a voicemail. Sometimes I'll leave my reviews. But how could you make the brand special? And to take it a level further, how could you make it unique and unreasonable hospitality to the person you're talking to? Well, let's say you have a person, you're calling a pool of people that have low credit scores. Ding, ding, ding. Low credit score brand, right? Like, hey, Alicia, it's Alex giving you a call from Aces Academy here. I just want to let you know, I know you've been denied before, and I really apologize for that. I know it's been tough and I've been there before. I specialize with clients of your nature and with your credit score. And today I'm literally giving you a call because I think I might have an opportunity for you. And if I don't, I won't even waste your time. But I think there's something good for you at the end of this tunnel. And what makes me feel fulfilled is helping people like you that have been withdrawn or denied before. I want to be the one to get you to that light. Do you have pen and paper? Let me try to help you out here. Like if I start off a brand like that for them, that'll be special. If I call a pool of pre-approved people and I tell them like, hey, I know you're pre-approved for looking for a house. Usually a lot of people in my space wait for you to find a house to work with you. I'm a little different. I want to call you and help you find your dream home. So explain to me, what does your dream home mean to you and why is it important? And if I go in like that and I call 100 of those people, what do you think happens? How many of those people do I close? Because I'm creating a blue ocean strategy, being unreasonable with hospitality and trying to create a unique brand for every single person I talk to. You're divorced, I specialize with divorces. So what is it that you could do to customize your brand to every single person you talk to and make your brand unique? Start churning your gears that way. How do you brand right now? And let's be honest, a lot of people are like,
well, I just brand.
Well, there's fucking 17 levels above just branding, okay? That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to hopscotch across the level. Like this is the stuff that's going to take your business from here to here. Just adding a simple custom brand to your people and sticking to it will end up being an extra 5-10 deals a month for whatever you do. And you do that over a long period, you accumulate interest, compounding interest, and it turns into 50, 100, 150 deals in the future. How about relationships? How could you make the relationship unique and special when you're qualifying somebody or building a relationship with your ideal client? What typically goes into a relationship and how could you make it special? The best way you can make it unique to somebody is find out so much about their life that nobody else could find out as much as you about their life, and then do something for them for what they need in their life that has nothing to do with your product or service. I'll give you a few examples of this. Talking to a lady, okay? Trying to help her out with a product or service. Her baby's screaming like never before in the background. And she's still trying to get through the call with me. And I know she's struggling because her baby's screaming. So instead of just pushing through the conversation and trying to sell my product or service, I stop and I say, look, I had a baby too. I had that same exact issue. I want you to try a couple of things. I said, put me on hold. Go take care of the baby. I'm going to send you a couple of things. Give me a few minutes. I literally go on YouTube and I find these Hertz frequency sounds that I used to play for my son when he was crying that help slow him down. And I send her a playlist of 10. That's the first thing I do. Then I go back and I pull up an article that I found that has 5 different methods from AI of what you could do to slow down a baby crying and what it could be caused from, and I send that to her. And I get back on the line, I say, we'll deal with this later. I sent you 5 things to try out as far as sounds are concerned. I sent you an article, it's pretty helpful. Try that out. Call me when everything's calm. Hang up the phone. Did I do business with her? Yes, I did business with her. Is that the point? No and yes. The business will come, but the real point here is throughout building a relationship, there was a problem that's not really scalable. I can't go tell all my salespeople, hey, whenever you hear a baby crying, crying, send this stuff out right away. Because this baby was crying excessively and it was an issue. It wasn't just a regular cry. And not everybody has that same problem. So it's not something I could scale, but it's something I was actively listening and I heard. And I said, instead of focusing on my product or service and being selfish, let me solve this lady's problem and help her with her baby. Because if I solve that problem, all the other problems will be solved as well. And the product or service is already sold because I'm helping her with what she needs the most. Talking to another client, trying to get him a hard money loan. He sends me his tax returns. I'm going through his tax returns. He uses his truck for business. He has a lot of investments that he made, and it looks like his accountant hasn't been expensing his shit correctly. I can't use the depreciation. It's not on there. The car's not listed. I'm like, man, who's your accountant? He tells me, I'm like, you know what? I'm not an accountant or anything, man, but I have some of them inside of my academy that I consult with. I have a good accountant myself and a good accounting team. I'm going to just send you an email with your tax returns and a couple of things that you need to go back to your accountant and tell him what the hell is going on with. And I literally snip his tax returns and I start putting notes in red pen in there and I send it back to him with about 15 notes on there. The guy and his wife were thanking me for days. Oh my God, Alex, thank you so much. I'm going to get a new account. I went back to him. He said it was a mistake. He's fixing this, fixing that. I should be able to get qualified. Why am I doing a hard money? Like, instead of just going for the hard money loan sale, just to get a quick sale and finish it off, I helped the guy fix his returns not only for this year, for the next year, the year after, the year after. And all that connects to is a better life for the client. Now, can I go tell my team, hey, every time you see tax returns, I need you to send it to an accountant and make notes and send it back? Like, no, that's not scalable, but it's something that I heard, I seen. It was right there in the relevant moment and they could be helped. Here's another one. Talking to a client. What kind of debts do you have? Looking at their car loan. What kind of cars do you like? He likes the Tesla car, has a Tesla. I have a Tesla too. We start talking about Tesla. I'm like, yeah, the only thing I hate about Tesla is like when it drives for you, every like 6 seconds, if your hand's not on the wheel, it starts beeping. It tells you, put your hands on the wheel, put your hands on the wheel. I'm like, I hate that. He's like, yeah, I hate that too. Now I have a solution for this, but I didn't tell him I have a solution for this. The solution for this is there's hand weights that you wrap on each side of the steering wheel and the hand weights hold it down so it appears that your hand's on the wheel. I sent him those hand weights on Amazon overnight delivery for $18 to his house. And I put my name on it and he called me and said, what the heck is this? I said, you got to promise me that I'm not responsible for any liabilities on this. I don't recommend it, condone it at all. But this is what I use to make my steering wheel stop beeping. Do you think that guy is going to shop me? Do you think he's not going to come back to me? That's unreasonable hospitality. That's showing up for somebody, telling them I listen to you. I'm going to get your Tesla car to stop beeping when you don't touch a steering wheel. And you're going to have it drive you safely while you're watching. That's for legal purposes on your own. And I solved your problem because I was actually listening and I was actually human. And like that's where the personal bond and the connection goes because nobody else is thinking that deep. That's why people hop off these calls. People that hop off these calls have never ever done something like that before in their lives. They can't even comprehend this because their brain doesn't think that deeply or strategically on doing something like this to create a lasting relationship with somebody. This one right here is from 2018, 12 referrals in 1 month. That's 12 referral deals in 1 month from different people. Like this is stuff that I've been doing for years. The compound interest in it continues to come. People were doing 12 deals in a month. I was doing 12 referral deals in a month, not even counting all the regular deals. So you have to think about that. These are the kind of things in the relationship. You keep a good ear, you keep a good eye, you listen to what's going on, you say, boom, that's exactly where I need to show up for the client. No, I don't sell hand weights. I'm not a coach on making babies sleep. I'm not a divorce attorney. I'm not an accountant, but the client needs this. I think I could help. Last one I'll give you and we'll move on from this. My friend in Florida gave me a great hack one time. Whenever you're doing construction or renovations in your house, he gave me the website where the contractors and the construction companies go to buy the material. It's like a wholesale website for this stuff, and he had a login for it and he shared it with me. And I realized I've been getting gypped for a long time because the prices I was paying for parts compared to what was on there, people were cracking me next to $5,000-$10,000 for parts and then making their labor on top. So when I did the kitchen at my house, the quote was like $65,000. Went to that website, told the guy I pay for my own parts, brought it down to like $42,000. That's like something that helped me out. And I'm always talking to people that want to do renovations, so that's one thing I'll teach them. I'll say, hey, like if you're doing renovations, make sure you don't fall into the same hole. Here's what happened to me. I have a friend in Florida. Here's what he told me. Here's how I save money. I'll send it to you. Don't show it to anybody else. Send it to them. Oh my God, thanks, Alex. You helped me save $10,000. You helped me save $15,000. Are they going to care about my cost being a couple thousand more than the competition if I just help them save $10,000, $15,000? Unreasonable hospitality. Showing up at the right place at the right time. Honestly, I didn't even think that this is straight off the top, by the way. Like I just put this stuff together and I just want to go off the top with you guys, but like this shit is absolute fire. It might be one of the most valuable things we've talked about in the last 5-10 minutes. These little stories and creating these for your clients, like these are the things that are going to make you feel good, make you sell good, and make people never forget you again. Presentation. This is a good one. When you're presenting to somebody, how could you make that special and unique? Well, we talk about what kind of learner are they. If they're a visual learner, maybe you do it on, email. You have them write it down. If they're a kinesthetic learner, maybe you have them add it up and fill out a chart. If they're an audio learner, maybe you tell them it over the phone. But being at the right place at the right time when you're presenting for somebody. For example, if I FaceTime with somebody and I pulled out my whiteboard, which is down there, literally, if I pulled out that whiteboard down there, you could see it under the TV, and I brought it over here and I said, hey, I know that you're with your husband right now and there's a lot of stuff going on. I wanted to make sure you understand exactly what we're doing for you. Here's my whiteboard right here. I'm just going to write down, here's what you're currently doing right now in your life. This is what you're paying. This is how that looks. This is how that looks. You guys see that? Does that make sense to you guys? All right, let's go to the rest. Here's what I'm going to be doing for you guys. Most importantly, you guys told me the most important thing to you was blah, blah, and blah. Well, here's what I thought about doing for that. And then, year number 2, here's what I thought about doing for, little Tommy that you told me A, B, and C for. And I do a whole presentation like that for somebody. Is it going to be unique? Is it going to be special? Yeah. Another hack you could do is whenever you do a presentation, I do a 5-year presentation. So everybody that presents their product or service, just say you're selling a vacuum for somebody and you're like, all right, yeah, the vacuum's going to go around your house, it's going to clean your house for you. It's an automatic vacuum. It's going to save you so much time. The sale is done there. But what I try to do is stretch it to 5 years. The vacuum's going to save you so much time. I mean, year 1, you could take all of that time. You could lose the 20 pounds and get in the gym like you've always wanted to do. Year number 2, you could start doing those girl brunches again that you've always wanted to do. You could take that vacation. And then year number 3, with all that time, you could start painting again. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year vision for people. If I'm doing a refinance, I say year number 1, you're saving about $3,200, but take that $3,200, knock out the MasterCard. Year number 2, then year number 2, you're saving now $4,800. And then year number 3, you could knock out that Honda. Now you're saving $800. Year number 4, you're talking about $9,000 saved, which is perfect because now you could take that vacation that you've always wanted to do, that Christmas trip in Colorado. And I'm connecting it year by year by year by year, and it's all unique to their emotions. And I'm giving them a 5-year plan because of my product or service. Instead of just a boring, I hear the worst presentations. The presentations are so disgusting, I want to throw up. It's it doesn't sound interesting. It doesn't feel good. There's no excitement. It's just we're just presenting unconsciously a lot of times. And I say you got to be the Bruce Buffer of presenting. What does Bruce Buffer do great? Bruce Buffer stretches before his presentations. He's always wearing a very fly expensive suit. He does this with his mouth, getting ready, goes like this, does his walk, he's pacing, gets the mic, always energetic, always enthusiastic, always gives a personal touch to every single fighter he's announcing. That's a great salesperson. That's unreasonable hospitality. For every single fighter, does it a little different. Some of them he fist bumps, some of them he gets close to, some of them he stays far to. He has his own unique relationship with every single one. How could you take that and present that way with your clients? What could you do? How could you be a little different? Are you going to connect a 5-year plan? Are you going to use FaceTime? Are you going to send an email with photos? How could you make it unique to every single person? Going to buy a car? What if I said I want to think about it, and then I came back with my wife to show her the car, and the guy engraved my wife's name, my name, and my son's name in the middle. He's like, I don't know if you're going to buy this car, man, but I just thought I'd do this for you. Or heck, what if he engraves it in the jackets for me? And then I don't buy the car. He's like, well, take the jackets, man. Maybe one day you'll get them. I guarantee you I'll come back and buy it just because he gave me the jacket. Before getting to that, how about even the closings? You know how we have so many closings that are that are at home with people with a notary, we're not even there? What if you made a commitment to show up on FaceTime for every single closing for a client? And you made that commitment starting today that I'm going to show up for a closing for every single client. And look, you're not closing 7, 8 in one day. If you are, that's a great problem to have and you're making a lot of money. So if that's the case, you could put 5 iPads on your desk and do 5 closings at once. But for a lot of us, we could handle going to every single closing on an iPad and being there. A lot of people run away and they don't show up for the closing and they just want to get paid and disappear. How about you show up for the closing and then right after you set up a 6-month appointment to check up on them again. Right after you ask for a referral face to face. Think about doing that for every single closing for the next 12, 18 months and tell me what happens in your business. But no, it's uncomfortable. Why do you think I'm wearing button-ups most of the week? Because I'm ready to FaceTime somebody at any time. These are the kind of things you got to be doing. Follow-up. How could you make your follow-up unreasonable hospitality? Showing up at the right place at the right time, or following up the right way. If somebody has bad credit, what if I send them 6 emails on bad credit, 6 texts with tips on bad credit, 6 voicemails on bad credit, 6 weeks of bad credit, unique follow-up? If somebody's like looking for a new job, let's say, to qualify, what if I send them job postings? What if I call on 3-way and get them a job and help them find one? If somebody needs work, what if I help them get the work on their house? If somebody's going through a divorce, what if I send them a book on how to prepare yourself to be single? Like, you could do so many things throughout your follow-up to guarantee the business if you just focus on what's unique to the client or the prospect you're following up with. And don't get me wrong, I have my mass campaigns that send out the follow-ups, but I also have my hot list. My hot list usually has 50, 60 people in there that's getting custom touch follow-up every single day, where I'm thinking, what does this person need? What could I get? What could I say? What could I send? And then I go. So how could you make follow-up special or important? And then if you're like, man, Ace, man, all that shit's just too complicated, man. I can't think about all that shit, what I'm going to do. And I don't got a mind like yours. And I don't know, man. It's too much. And I got to do this and do that. And I got calls in my schedule. And I'm busy. And it's hectic. And all right, do birthday cards, do holiday baskets, do something that's easy every single holiday. You send a unique hand letter. I remember when I first started in 2015 in the mortgage game, once a month I put it in my calendar. I'd go to Rocket Mortgage in their office space where they had free holiday cards and pens and envelopes, and they even send them for you for free and they stamp them for you. I used to take a stack and I used to come to my desk and I used to start handwriting holiday cards for all my clients that I helped. And I had it in my calendar at the end of every month. And like on the 4th or 5th month, I'd go there and the material would still be stacked, and like I did it. And then, you know, the executives used to come to me and say like, man, Sharafadine, we wish everybody would use these damn holiday cards, man. You're like the only one that does this still. Never lose this habit. And like I would keep doing it and doing it. Then it got to a point where it was too much and I couldn't do it anymore. But like that always reminded me, like that was like the first cue in 2015 that, man, like they have all this stuff for free and not one person out of the 2,000 people in this building has the effort to go out there and send a couple holiday cards. Nobody thinks that's important. But like that's where you get motivated. That's where you say like the fucking competition is weak. They're weak. If you're willing to get out of your comfort zone and go above and beyond, you're going to win. And if you're not, you're going to stay average. And there was like 33 ways we went over already to go above and beyond and win. You don't got to do all of them. Pick one of them. And every single birthday card, just put a note of somebody's fun fact or something that's special to them or something that's funny that they would understand. And send that out the first year and I see how many people come back to you. And every single holiday, do the same. Like I got a Christmas basket from my realtor last 2 years. He actually did it 1 year. He didn't do it the next year, which is why I'm with another realtor now. You should have kept that Christmas basket coming. But the Christmas basket, it was nothing special. It was just a picture of, I think, him and his family and just, you know, Merry Christmas. Hopefully you're enjoying the house. But I literally like told my wife, like, damn, you know, this guy actually cares. And it wasn't even like unique or custom made or anything like with a message inside that was something showing active listening. It was just a regular card, universal message. And that felt good. Could you imagine if it was something personal, unique like we're talking about here? How good that would have felt? So yeah, if it's too much, why don't you just stick to birthday and holidays, but try to make it a little more special. Going back to the restaurant, one of the things that this owner of this restaurant said that won the #1 restaurant in the world, when he had his whole staff listening to people and finding a unique lesson or a unique story that they could go make an experience out of and gift that person that, something that was special and unique to them, they said that the best part about it was seeing the person's face when they delivered the hot dog, when they delivered the snow sleds, when they gave them their slow songs. The best part was seeing the client's face, the customer's face, when they surprised them with a unique gift, showing them they were listening when they didn't even know. And they said that they almost felt as good as the client felt for getting that gift because they were the ones that gave it to them. So I share that with you because if you could do something unique and special to every single person you talk to, it's not only that they feel great and you're going to see them feel great, but you're also going to feel great because you're causing that whole experience and you're causing those emotions. And that's powerful. It's the gift of giving the gift. That's powerful. You see all these influencers, they go out there in the streets and they start giving out $100 bills and passing out money. Like, I don't hate on that. I think that's cool. And like, I would do that too. And you know why they do that? Because it feels good to gift those people money that really need it. To see their face, to see their expression. When some of these guys like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he bought that guy a pickup, his dad's dream pickup truck, if you guys seen that. And the guy was crying and his dad was crying. They were hugging him. Like, damn, that shit touched my heart. So when you start doing these kind of things or training your team to start doing these kind kind of things, not only are you making people feel great, you're going to feel great for doing these things. And that's very, very powerful because that's going to connect to so much more. So again, it's not scalable, right? I can't just say, hey, everybody, I need you guys to all start sending CBD treats for dogs because one of my clients had a dog that had an injured foot. So just start sending everybody CBD treats for dogs. Like, no, it was only that client. But hey, everybody, what is the experience that your ideal client goes through typically? And what are the biggest snags in the process with your product or service? Let's write those down. And after we write those down, how could we make those common snags a little more easier for your client going through your product or service? Let's write down those ideas. And then what are some common things that we hear from people that really, if we were paid to make them feel special, we can make them feel special? Let's write that down. And then how do we keep a common ear for more of these things that pop up naturally in the moment? And how could we remember to do those kind of things? Let's write that down. You see, we all have patterns in our businesses. We all have patterns in our industries. We all have patterns of bad experiences and bad complaints and bad, client experiences throughout our process. And if we could pinpoint those and make them better and then listen to the individual experiences and do something custom and unique for them, you're really maximizing value. And that's the name of the game. You see, we're all giving value. It's just what scale of the value are you giving? Because a lot of people are stuck at this minimal value, right? They do what everybody else does. And then some people go a little here, some people go a little here. But only the sharks and the lions of the jungle are making it, maxing out that value point every single time. And that's where you need to be. I say doing one thing is better than thinking about 10 things. So pick one thing to commit to. I get this a lot that, yeah, man, you give so much value that sometimes it's overwhelming. People don't know what to do with all the value. All I ask people to do is walk away with one thing, commit to that one thing, never stop doing that one thing, master that one thing, and I guarantee you success. And not only that, I guarantee you that you won't regret it. And I'll guarantee you being consistent and forming a habit with that one thing also forms discipline so you could turn the one thing into two things and then master the second thing and then turn the two things into three things. But the hardest part is starting, and the starting begins right now. So if you have any ideas or things you want to talk about, how you can maximize this, please head to the Academy, sign up for a one-on-one session with me, send me a message, email, DM. I got your back. Have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your week. Thanks always. It's the Aces.